When you think about businesses like Allbirds or Skims that are selling through the roof, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But what's often overlooked is the business behind the business that makes it all possible. For millions of businesses, that's Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. With Shop Pay, you can boost conversions by up to 50%, meaning fewer abandoned carts and way more sales. Whether your customers are scrolling online, strolling through your store, or browsing social media, Shopify ensures you're ready to sell wherever they are. It's no secret, businesses that want to grow, grow with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/DAX, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/DAX to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/DAX.
Wild political news. Here we go. And the crowd, they're going crazy. Everybody's going nuts. Ah, yeah. Woo. All right. Very good. All right. So we got, this will be the last show of 2024. That's the bad news. The good news is we'll have another show in 2025. That'll be just better than this could ever be. All right. Let's see what we have here. I know we got Jonathan out there tonight. Way to go. Brian is with us, and so is the man of the hour, Leonard Gilbert. Okay, very good. So there's a lot to talk about as of 100, if you guys weren't aware of it. So he just did pass away. So, but boy, talking about living a long life. There you go, 100 years.
That's a long time, Joe.
That's a long time.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember him being the president, and I don't have very good memories when he was president back in the 70s.
No, I seem to recall double digit, inflation, or trying to get a loan was virtually impossible at that time. What was it, 18%?
Oh, the inflation was so astronomical, off the roof. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All I remember, growing up, all I remembered was our family. We didn't have any money. That's all I remember, because that stupid inflation, man. That was just but yeah, I don't have good memories of him. But yeah, he did pass away. Now there's
you had the oil embargo and the long lines for oil in the 70s. Don't forget about that.
Oh, yeah.
If you were a kid in the 70s, you got, instead of an actual road trip, you got to sit with your car periodically turned off for long periods of time, just sitting and waiting in hours-long lines to try and get into a gas station if they had any gas.
The gas shortage. That's right. That phony gas shortage that was going on. And I remember something else. They wanted you not to put up Christmas tree lights. They didn't want any houses with Christmas tree lights on because it was using too much electricity. Asinine stuff like that, I remember. And it's like, get rid of this guy. He was the worst president ever. I'm sorry to hear him pass away. But, I mean, when you live to be 100, you've lived a very fulfilling life. I mean, come on. Not too very few people.
What did he do before that? Was he a governor? I can't remember.
I know he was something to do with a peanut farmer, but I'm not sure.
I know he was a peanut farmer.
I don't know what else he was doing.
I didn't know if he held other office.
Yeah, he must have. I mean, you just don't go from peanut farmer to president. But who knows? The Democrats, they've always been really screwy, and they continue.
Was it Peanut Farmer, or was it a character on Peanuts? I don't remember which.
And then, he was a peanut farmer, and then remember his brother Billy. He was always drinking beer. Do you remember that? He had his. Was that his brother? I think it was his brother, Billy, and he was always drinking beer. That's all he was doing. And then
Billy.
He came up with his own beer. He came up with Billy beer. Nobody bought it, of course, but it was like, what were we thinking of, Becca? Why did people vote for him? Of course, after his disastrous 4 years, Reagan came in. And one other thing, too, remember with Jimmy Carter was, do you remember the hostages? Do you remember the hostages? Iran, I believe it was Iran.
Yeah, the
484 days or something.
Yeah,
you're right.
They would not release the hostages.
I think
Very,
they
very
released them
weak.
the first day that Reagan took off.
Right.
Took office, I believe.
Well, Reagan came in. If you remember, Reagan came in and said that you don't release the hostages on day one. We're coming and we're bombing the hell out of your country. And so they waited until day one, and then they just released everybody. It's so similar to like Trump and Biden. Biden is such a
it is.
weak
I was just going to say that. The Carter to Reagan and then
Right.
Biden to Trump.
Right,
It
right.
is a similarity.
Very, very similar. Exactly. My Lord, I don't know.
I think Biden may have even been worse than Jimmy Carter. It was a neck and neck, but I think Biden, because Biden didn't even show up. He had something like I don't know, half a year or a year of vacation.
Oh, he's on vacation now. By the way, he's on vacation. He is on vacation right now. Sucking up our tax dollars so that, and I mean a very expensive, luxurious vacation.
Yeah, they all take world tours at our expense.
Yeah,
that's a nice gig.
Yeah, but it's not only that. They're not the only ones who go. It's like they take family, they take friends, they take in-laws, they take everybody, and then a $10 million vacation. They don't care. They don't care at all.
Well, we all had to vote for Jimmy Carter since he was from Georgia, and I was a Georgia boy, so you didn't have a choice. And especially when your parents say, "Oh, we got to make history. He's from Georgia." And then, but the thing I remember more than anything else from Jimmy Carter is the Department of Education.
Oh my
He
gosh!
basically created that.
Oh, he
Is
created
that when
that.
that monstrosity started?
Yeah,
Awful.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I remember that vividly.
Wow.
He's the culprit for that. So he did nothing good. He did nothing good.
Yeah. He did terrible things. But you know what? On the Jimmy Carter thing, I mean, who was it, Brian, that just said that, he may be worse because he didn't show up? I think not showing up is better. I mean, kind of like Congress. When they're not there and they don't show up and they're not meeting and government shuts down and everything, in my book, that's a win. When
You could be right.
our shady president doesn't show up and do nefarious bad things. At least that way, the times when Biden wasn't showing up, he wasn't having nude transgender dances in the Rose Garden and stuff like that. But in my book, I mean, not that anybody asks, but it does seem to keep coming up over and over who is the worst president. And until 14 years ago, it was in Carter in my book. I think Obama was the worst by far in my book. And yes, it was exciting, even for those of us who didn't vote for him, to have our first black president. Hoorah. But at the end of the day, sane people realize that your skin pigment has nothing to do with reality. And the reality is Obama's policies were atrocious and harmful and Marxist, his whole thing. So in my book, again, not that anybody asked, but Obama's the worst. Carter is second worst. And then we've got the Biden. You can't even call it the Biden presidency because I don't think he did anything. I think that he just showed up and ate ice cream, and he was kind of the figurehead for whoever the heck was making the decisions behind the scene. And I think in my book, that's sort of number 3. But the upside on that for me is it was so obvious during these Biden years that the president on the left, the leftist presidents, are mostly just figureheads, or a lot of them are on the right and left. I think the W is probably a figurehead as well, just propped up there so that a whole bunch of people can soak up money and get rich. But it was clear and transparent and obvious with Biden, which is kind of a silver lining to the thing.
Well, he was 100.
I have to agree. But when I think about Obama and what he said, Jonathan, when he said fundamental transformation of the country, that was one big truthful statement. But what we didn't realize it was taking it down, not building it up. He was put in there to destroy the country. He started that with the whole Obamacare and probably many other things that we're not aware of, but they have weaponized the Department of Justice and the FBI. And
there's a ton of stuff. The judges that he was putting in, the judges they were replacing, the 180 some generals. During the Biden administration, during the Obama administration, we had over 800 banks close. Those are regional banks. So you know me, my thing is follow the money. And so you had a bunch of power players trying to push everything into a couple little canals where a few people make all the money on everything. That was that's the underpinning of the Obama years. But from a military standpoint, it marked massive destruction. So here's a little side note. Again, this just occurs to me to mention, I know some people who were very, very well versed in Russian military history. And part of the problem that consistently for probably since Lenin in Russia is having good generals in position in control of the military. The problem with an oligarchy like they have in Russia is it's hard for centralized control to keep control of powerful generals. You saw the guy who was shot down in Ukraine. He took too much power. He threatened Moscow, and he was assassinated. In my book, he was killed for it. They have that problem. Well, we now have that problem in the United States because of Obama. Obama came through and found about 183, I think, really strong conservative generals and booted them all and replaced them with these these guys wearing lipstick and skirts and stuff, which just has destroyed morale and our military readiness, you name it. So the top brass in our military right now, I have no trust and respect for. Same thing with the Department of Justice. All of that stuff came out of Obama.
Well, you're right. Well, I don't think any of us have any respect for the current leadership with the military and stuff like that. Now, Carter's 100 years old. This lady here, this is Kay Granger. She's a congresswoman from Texas. And this is an interesting story. You know where they found her? She was in a nursing home, in the dementia ward of a nursing home. She hadn't been doing anything for the last 6 months in Congress. And for some reason, now we know why she wasn't doing anything for 6 months in Congress, because she was in a dementia ward, for crying out loud.
I wonder who was voting for her.
Here's something else. I want to get something here on some of the ages of the people that are in Congress. This is crazy. This is why we have to have term limits. But what's going on, guys, when you have so many people in their 80s that continue as congressmen and congresswomen? Something ain't right. Something is not right with the system. For instance, Nancy Pelosi, she's 84. Jim Clyburn is 84. I mean, they're all coming back for another term. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got about 10 people that are in their 80s. All right, congressmen, congresswomen in their 80s. This is kind of strange. I mean, you're supposed to. What's retirement age? Like 65, right? And you need some of the young blood. You need some of the people that can make things happen. You know, a little bit the next generation taking over in Congress and stuff like that. And it's only supposed to be a term for you to go in there and serve your country and then get out. It's not like you put your feet down for 50, 60 years. So that's something kind of crazy there. Let me show you this. Leonard, did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, I just wanted to say term limits won't fix this problem because our culture is what drives this. So until we look at our culture, I mean, we put them back in there. It's the same thing with the Republican Party. We'll just vote Republican just because it's Republican. So we got issues on both sides of the fence. So it's not just the term limit issue. It's the people and our culture as far as what we our ignorance level of the whole process and what we're expecting from our representatives.
Yeah, but the problem here's another issue. Yeah, but here's another problem with the whole thing, guys. You're either in a Republican district or you're in a Democrat district. There's not that many Congress people that are, there's only a few. Like in Ohio, there's only a few races that are close. You're either, if you're the Republican, you're winning, or the Democrat, you're winning, and that's it. So you can sit there forever, basically, because the establishment is going to support you if they like you. And they're not going to let anybody else primary you. And if they do, they'll provide money for the candidate they want. And that guy can just sit in there forever, basically. Like a Dave Joyce, okay? He can just sit in there forever. Who's going to challenge you? But that's part of the problem, too. Is with term limits, at least, you got to rotate there's got to be some kind of musical chairs. This person has to eventually get up and get out and get somebody else in there. But
and then you just put in another communist. That's all.
No, I know, but I know
it's so depressing though when you hear about the millions that they retire with. I mean, we're not paying them $5 million a year, but somehow they accumulate massive amounts of money for their retirement. I mean, not just $1 million; they're talking tens of millions now.
Insider trading. A lot of it's insider trading.
It is insider trading, but it's also insider trading connected with regulation, and it's regulation that pushes corporations and business in a certain direction. Like, I mean, we're seeing it with all this Green New Deal stuff. This, whatever they want to call it. In Northeast Ohio, they're calling it the Climate Action Plan. It's being pumped out of NOACA. And so they can create these regulations that push society into this certain direction. Like, it can be anything. The type of lighting that you're permitted to use, and light bulbs, and what types of copper cabling, types of internet, you name it. Regulation can push businesses in a direction, and anybody that knows where a certain type of business is headed, like windmills and batteries and solar power and all that stuff, they can buy the companies that manufacture this stuff that everybody's mandated to use. That's how they make a lot of their money. And it's awful. We need to stop that stuff, because at the end of the day, it should actually be a much easier argument than it is to convince the actual greenies out there, what was it? Greenpeace. The guy, one of the founders of Greenpeace, has flipped. He's like, he came over to our side with sanity, and he's like, look, I helped form Greenpeace 40 years ago or something, but what they actually do it's worse for the environment. They put this lipstick on garbage. But so, wait a minute, before you go away or go on to another topic, you mentioned Dave Joyce. It took me a minute to find this. But there is, in the National Pulse, there's an article about the Matt Gaetz report. I'm one of those people that's still furious that Matt Gaetz got booted. He was one of President Trump's nominees for an appointment. And here's this article. These Republicans conspired with Democrats to release the Gaetz ethics report. Now, I'm going to pause for a moment and say the ethics report is a ridiculous nightmare situation. In the real world, if you're accused of something, you can face your accuser, you can ask questions, you might have a lawyer to represent you. In these shenanigans that take place in Congress, they can just go in and whip something up into a report and just read it as if it's fact, and nobody can challenge and question it. It's preposterous. So anyway, apparently, Representative Dave Joyce from Ohio is one of those Republicans. If you're listening and not watching, that's me air quoting. Republican Dave Joyce colluded with the Democrats and his colleagues to read this ridiculous, god-awful report into the record. So the swampies, the left, the right, the uniparty, they are working double time to try and thwart as much of the Trump initiative as possible. They're going after all the appointments. We don't need people like this Dave Joyce character. By the way, the last I knew, and this was maybe about 6-8 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, I believe that his earnings on his investment portfolio were number 2. I think Pelosi was first. The amount of the
right.
earning, it's ridiculous. We don't need this guy. That's my point. With him, what's the expression? With Republicans like that, who needs Democrats? This guy he's a nightmare. He is super soft on Second Amendment, on our rights. What is the guy
he's got to get primaried. He's got to get primaried. We got to get We got to get rid of Joyce. I mean, he's got to get primaried.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, but
yes.
The problem is he's in with the establishment, and they love him.
Oh yeah,
they apparently love him. But if he's going after Matt Gaetz, he's part of the Uniparty. He's part of the establishment. But nobody likes Joyce that I know of. The guy's a rhino.
Nobody other than the people.
And what area is he in? He's in Lake County. Is that where he's at?
He's in Lake County.
Lake County. Yeah. So he's a congressman out there. But he's a rhino. He's a pure rhino out there.
Exactly.
All right, so here's some of the guys also that are running. I picked this up. I thought maybe you might get a kick out of it. So here's some of the presidential nominations for 2028. Of course, leading the pack is going to be JD Vance. And I think he's got a good shot at being the representative for the Republican Party. Believe it or not, these two yo-yos, these two goofballs, Tampon Tim, and he's the one on the right. And what's that, Brian?
No, I hope they do run. I really do.
I love it. I can't believe the Democrats
we should support them for running.
The Democrats are actually considering him, or the Democrats are thinking, well, we'll leave Tampon Tim on the sidelines and just go with Cackle and Kamala's. Now, this is what they are actually thinking at this moment. And they're completely brain dead if they're going to run her again. I would love it. I would think it was the best thing possible. I just don't see it making sense. Eventually, they're going to. Now, this guy here, Brian Kemp, he is from Georgia. He is the governor. So apparently, they're thinking, I do not want this guy in there, though. I do not want.
No, he's awful.
He is awful.
Raffensperger and Kemp are both really, really bad in Georgia. Raffensperger and Kemp need to get rid of them.
Exactly. So this guy, no way. There's no way in hell he gets in there. Now, Ted Cruz wants to jump in. Cruz wants to team with JD Vance. What do you think of them? What do you think of that? I don't know. I don't know if I like it or not.
I don't know. What has Cruz done? Correct me if I'm wrong. Jonathan, maybe you know, but I used to really get behind him, but I'm just wondering what he has done.
What has he done? Yeah. He talks a lot. He talks good.
A lot of them talk good. I mean, Trey Gowdy talked good.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Trey Gowdy talked good, but come on.
Yeah. But I have a side story on that just for anybody that's curious. So Ted Cruz's personal videographer for his family for a couple of decades, he was actually flown into Northeast Ohio and mic'd up and filmed my wife and me. So we got to know Ted Cruz's personal videographer. Actually, I text with him. He's a really nice guy. And I think the closest I can get probably to telling any relevant stories is this guy talking about his personal experiences, because he gets the whole backstage pass thing. He has been following the Cruz family around. I think he filmed their wedding. He's known them forever and did the documentary footage and all that stuff. He himself actually is a really, really nice guy. And he gave me some insights into Ted Cruz. And apparently one thing, and this is kind of off the beaten path for our political conversations, but it's one that's kind of important to me. So I'm going to mention it. Mm-hmm. I've not made any secret of the fact that I will tend to weigh people on their treatment of their spouse. People who are abusive to their spouse, I want nothing to do with. And apparently Ted Cruz is actually a really kind, loving husband. I have that on good authority from the videographer. So that I'm not suggesting that is a proxy for whatever his policies are and the things he may be doing or not doing. But in my book, having that sort of behind the curtains glimpse into the Cruz family and hearing some of the stories about the things that he does to care for and about his wife, that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's a positive. That is a positive. Do you guys believe the Democrats are also thinking about running this guy, John Fetterman?
Will he run in shorts? Shorts and a hoodie?
I mean, I love it. I love it because
what we're saying is the Democrats' bench is not very deep, Joe, right?
They don't know what the heck they're doing. Now, Fetterman could run with Kamala Harris. It might be an interesting duel.
Well, what about the Newsom from California? Wouldn't he run?
Oh, yeah. I got to believe Newsom's got to be in there, too. I don't know who wrote this story, put that stuff in there, but Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, the governor of Michigan, she's going to be
get her in.
Top
That's
one.
Good.
Also the governor of Pennsylvania, he's a top one as well. I think both those guys. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Whitmer and Shapiro. They're the governor of Michigan and the governor of Pennsylvania. If those two collaborated to run, because those
we've got a long way to go, though.
Yeah, I got a long way to go, and we've got to nail so much done before then. But I just thought it was hilarious that they're thinking of this guy. That's fine. Let them think about it. All right. Let's talk some property taxes here because I think it's really, I think it's really important. Let me get into some of this here, and then we'll just banter around with this, okay? So the 135th General Assembly ended without passage of any significant legislation addressing Ohio's property taxes, okay? But everybody knows this is a big this is a big item because of the reevaluation. Property taxes have been enormous. People have been complaining about them in Ohio forever, and now they're just going to skyrocket with these spike in home valuations across the state. Now, Matt Huffman, who will be the Speaker of the House, blamed the lack of movement on the extraordinarily complex nature of the property tax system, which extends into policy areas like school and local government funding. And according to Huffman, 70% of Ohioans' property taxes support local schools, the public schools. So he's saying that any potential changes to the system likely would have major implications on K through 12, and that is an area that lawmakers are set to revisit, with the new General Assembly coming up. One policy idea that Huffman floated was the requiring school districts with large carryover balances to return some of the money to the residents. Anyhow, we need some real significant property tax fixes, okay? Not putting a Band-Aid on this. We need some real significant property tax reform. But the biggest issue, Brian, is 70% of it is going to the local public schools, which is going to raise hell, right? What you're doing is you're just taking and hitting a stick with a wasp's nest, and the unions, the teachers' union, are going to come after the politicians. I mean, this is going to be a bloody war.
Yeah, that's the real problem with any changes to the funding of schools through the property taxes will be the teachers' unions, and the teachers' union have a tremendous influence with the state legislators. Leonard and I are going to be working very diligently. Starting in January, we are going to ramp up what we are going to do. We're going to again have another meeting with people throughout the state and we're going to have develop the overall strategy, how we're going to review with the state legislators what we want to tell them what we want done. And I'm coming to the realization, I think the first thing that I want them to do is to simplify the whole calculations of the property taxes. As the more that I speak to people, they just don't understand it. I've even, some people that I think that are very, very smart have, challenged trying to understand the 20 mil floor and how that impacts the schools. But my concern is that the legislators have deceived.
Excuse me. Hang on 1 second. Oh, man. Something. Where's my mute button
okay,
when
Joe?
I need it? I can't find the mute button. Oh, here it is. Go ahead and talk.
All those buttons and you can't find your own mute, huh?
Well, we are we're going to meet with citizens throughout the state, and then we are going to reach out to the legislators. We're also going to, in the middle of January, we're going to send out a survey throughout the state, asking people to fill out the survey, and what we're going to do with the survey results is we will give them to the legislators, and we're hoping to provide some meaningful input to the legislators. So this is what the people are really thinking about the property taxes. But as I said before, the one item that is very clear to me, people want a simplified tax system that they understand.
Exactly. Excuse me. Exactly. It's got to be simple. I found the mute button too, by the way. It's got to be simplified. I mean, I don't even understand it. First of all, you have this 35% reduction. First of all, do people even look at their property taxes? If you have a mortgage, you're not even looking at it probably. And then there's no way of knowing how many of these issues are tied to that property tax money, Yeah,
that's a good point, Joe. We've done some analysis here in Lake County, and some of the taxing districts I've looked at, they have anywhere from 34 to 40 individual tax levies that they're paying for, be they the county, the municipality, or their school districts. People just don't know it.
Okay, so you got 40 items on that property tax bill. Every single one of them, every single one of those should be listed. That you're paying for the metro parks, you're paying for this school levy and that school levy, and then another metro park, and then another library, and boom.
Well, what they do in Lake County, Joe, though, is they will consolidate that. They'll tell you that you're paying X number of dollars for the metro parks or for Auburn Career Center or your school district, and so they do that, but they won't give you the detail of how many tax levies there are. You may have 2 or 3 pages of a property tax bill if you get to that level of detail. But people don't even understand what a tax district is. They don't know that the taxing district is made up of the county, the municipality, and the school district. They don't know how many tax levies are in that are controlled by the county. And the other problem is that there are no checks and balances. There's no one that says, to the Lakeland Community College, you can't collect any more money because either wasteful or you don't need it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Who's really paying attention when all these schools and stuff like that are asking for more money? Who's really paying attention as to how are they using that money?
Well,
and do they really need it?
The logic is, Joe, that outside of the inside millage, the outside millage is voted on by the people. So the legislators say that, well, the people can control what their property taxes by just not voting for it. Well, part of the problem is we know that we do not get, even close to 100% of the people going to the polls. Many people don't even register to vote. Mm-hmm. So the school levies are passed by really people that are using the schools. Leonard and I have said, well, we've got to understand is what's the role of government? The people have become so used to the government solving their problems. They're looking for government to solve their problems. And then I say is, where is it written that one individual must pay for the education of another child? It doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense.
Should seniors after 65 continue to pay school property taxes?
Heck no.
When I look at what I have paid for the Riverside School District, I've paid over $100,000. Isn't that enough?
Yeah. Did you ever get a thank you in the mail? Did you get a thank you yet?
No,
in the
I
mail
don't even
them?
get tickets to their football games. So.
You gave them $100,000. Did they send you a card at least, a Christmas card or anything saying thank you?
And what really frosts me when I go to the school board meetings, if I go over 3 minutes, they're cutting the mic.
You're out of there. People just got to say no to these levies. Now, here's something that was interesting, and people say that their votes don't count, but look at this for a minute. And this was the last election that took place. So, for instance, in Ashland County, the Hillsdale local school, it's a 1.4 million, 1.4 mil. Look at the difference there. 3 people. It passed by 3 votes. I mean, people got to realize, you're in that voting booth, you vote no. Don't pass on voting. Dark County, the second one there, issue 4, property tax levy. Now, that one got defeated, but look how close. I mean, every vote is important, guys. That got defeated by 3 votes.
I give you another, for instance, Joe. Here in Concord, where we had a fire levy, I think it was 3.9 or something, a fire mill levy. It passed by 131 votes, but when I did the research, there was almost 500 people that went to the polling location but didn't vote on that issue.
Wow. There you go. There you go. Those 500 people should have voted. You have to vote no. If you are unsure, this should be the criteria here. If you are unsure about a levy, you vote no. A levy should only pass if you are absolutely sure that school or whatever it's for needs that money, and 100% sure they need it. Not this BS about feel good, do it for the kids. No, that's all propaganda. That's just BS, okay? So
well, I'm with you.
Unless you know 100%, Jonathan, that they need that money, which they don't, by the way, then you vote no. You vote no unless you are 100% sure that you should be voting yes. That should be the criteria.
So we need to back up, because I'm not disagreeing with you, but we need to back up and define need, because we lost sight of that several decades ago. The whole notion that these schools need somehow to just constantly be on this treadmill of construction and new construction, rebuilding new construction and fixing new construction and adding to new construction, and then new lighting and then new tech and then new wireless routers and then new blacktop, and just the level of it's totally, in my book, it's money laundering, and it has been for decades. But here's the thing. We're talking about property taxes, and let's just sort of use that ballpark figure of about 60%. And let's assume for a moment that the average Ohioan, 60% of their property tax goes toward paying their local school district. If that's the case, then once again, and I need to run through this again for any new listeners, Ohio has fallen to 38th in the nation in education, roughly 38th out of 50. At the same time, Ohio has softened our academic proficiency standards several times. And at the same time, our cost per pupil has skyrocketed. And at the same time, the U.S. has fallen to roughly dead last of developed nations, even falling behind some places that are third world that are little more than a mud hut with a chalkboard. So we're paying astronomical amounts for what I call ABE. That stands for anything but education. So if we're focusing on property taxes, and for a moment focus just specifically on the roughly 60% of our taxes that go toward funding these schools. By the way, that's an opportune moment to suggest that anybody listening withdraw your children from government-run schools and go and find a proper education elsewhere because they're failing us. They're failing us at octuple the price. But what if, and it's just a hypothetical question, but I think it's one maybe we pick up and run with. I have some good contacts at think tanks like Heritage Foundation and parents involved in education. And I know a lot of the leadership of these no right turn in education. Maybe we could put our thinking caps on and find out, on average, in a place like Ohio, where property taxes are not extraordinarily high, our property values, what is an average reasonable price per pupil? And let's just ballpark it at maybe $10,000. That's a lot of money. $10,000 is a lot of money. Look at places like Cleveland Public Schools, where it's around $45,000 being spent per pupil per year now. Maybe if we can convince Ohio that it's worthwhile to actually assume education takes place in our K through 12 public government-run schools, maybe we get back to education, stop all the other nonsense, and what if, I'm just spitballing some ideas here, what if we cut the cost per pupil from $40,000 to $45,000 or $38,000, depends on the district you're in, or $15,000 or $17,000, whatever it is. What if we cut it to 10 and actually just got teachers, get rid of about 90% of the administrators, just treat it like Elon Musk did with Twitter, and I think it'll be largely very successful. Give some raises to good teachers, make it merit-based in the education system. And if we could accomplish that, it would take a major shift in public thinking, like actually paying attention to the quality of education that comes out. I mean, you just heard Elon Musk and a whole bunch of other people from Silicon Valley saying we don't have engineers in the U.S. and we need these HN1 visas, or whatever they're called, to bring in engineers from other countries. Because according to what we're hearing on the national stage, Americans aren't bright enough. We don't have data on that outside of government-run schools, but based on what we see in government-run schools, maybe they're right. Maybe we fix that. At the same time, we fix our property tax issues by putting education back in K through 12. That stands to right our country, fix and prepare future generations for successful lives. After all, education is the key that opens all doors, and maybe lower taxes all at the same time. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, that would be awesome. But I think the one thing you got to do is you got to create competition if you really want to solve the problem. None of this, okay, let's try to cut the costs in the public school. The public school is failing us. You just said we're like 38th in the world or something like that. I don't know what you said. Oh, 38th in the United States. All right, but the public schools are failing us. So what you do is you create competition. When there's no competition, that's what the standard keeps falling. Get these vouchers going, which they are, finally. Get your kid into a private school if you need to. And make the public schools earn their money. And if people don't want to go to the public schools, then it's going to decrease. The amount of funding they're going to get is going to decrease. Our property taxes, everything. So that, to me, is the solution. You got to create, competition. You got to create competition. There's no sense of going to Cleveland's public school system, or even a Cleveland Heights. Cleveland Heights is pretty bad, which is where I'm at. And you can't go to college afterwards because you're not capable, all right? You're not capable of the study that's going to be demanded of you at the next level. Well, what the heck good was it going to the school, unless you don't want to go to college, I guess. But the kids that do want to go, you've decimated their future, okay? You killed their future. All right, Brian, you put this together. Let's watch this a second.
Your grandma got evicted from her house she has been in for 50 years.
Oh, no. Why did it happen?
I bet she did not pay her property taxes.
The Ohio legislators care more about the donor class than do Ohio seniors over 65.
There must be something that can be done.
All citizens must call their representatives and senators. Tell them to save our seniors now.
Senator Serino, as Vice Chair of the Finance Committee, you have the power to save us. Representatives Callender and Troy, please let us age in place.
All right, Brian, so you threw that together. It was some kind of animated software that you have. I thought it was pretty good. I like it. I like it a lot. It gets a message
thank
across.
you. I appreciate it. Leonard and I were trying to think of different ways to convey the message. As we said before, many people like to be entertained rather than educated, so we thought we would try this animated software to see if it works and just get some feedback from some people, would they want to see more of that? I mean, we can do that. It's a lot of work, but we'd be glad to do that if it conveys the message that something needs to be done with our schools and also save our seniors. That is sort of our battle cry right now: SOS, SOS, save our seniors.
Well, I thought it was really good. I liked it. I think that's a really good alternative. Now, let me just talk about something else here. House Bill 274. House Bill 274 was to create the homestead property tax exemption for homeowners. It's going to have to wait until the next session because it didn't clear both the House and the Senate, Ohio House and Ohio Senate. But House Bill 274, to me, this homestead property tax exemption is just putting a Band-Aid on a wound, like you got hit with a hand grenade and somebody's going to hand you a little Band-Aid. It ain't going to do much. It ain't going to do much. Now, Dan Troy, he's a Democrat out of Willowick. He said the measure would have been a positive step, but a small one in the right direction. He also said that we need to really get serious in the next General Assembly about this whole thing with the property taxes. And he also brought up another interesting point, this Dan Troy, and I know you know him. He questioned about the Republican lawmakers focusing so much on eliminating the income tax that this has really been a problem with them, focusing in on property taxes.
Yeah, I would agree with Dan Troy on that. And we've heard that from several of the legislators that they think, they want to reduce or eliminate the property taxes to be competitive with other states. And why not be a leader and say that, eventually we're going to eliminate the property taxes. Wouldn't that be interesting? And maybe, seniors wouldn't have to think about, leaving the state altogether. They can actually stay in their home.
In other words,
focusing
less on getting rid of the state income tax, focus less on that, and focus more on eliminating property taxes.
Correct. That's Leonard and I. That's our stance. Yes.
Yeah.
We know that's a very heavy lift, but we are going to keep pushing forward because we are saying that we want the government to get out of owning. We want to own our own homes. We don't want to be renters from the government, and that's all we really are right now because of the property taxes. People need to realize that they don't own their home. They're renters from the government.
That is a good point. You do not own your home because if you don't pay those property taxes, you don't have a home anymore.
Leonard, jump in here anytime. I keep mentioning your name.
If you want to jump in, Leonard, let us know. Senate Bill 295. Senate Bill 295, Andy Brenner. He's a Republican. This is a Senate bill. This is interesting. He wants to establish the closure as a potential consequence for poorly performing traditional public schools. And he's going to bring that up again next session, see if it has any legs, can go anywhere. And Huffman said that beyond closing the poor academic public schools, he thinks that state policymakers need to examine whether some of the districts are operating with too many buildings. Thoughts on that? Let me get Leonard in here. What'd you think about that, Leonard?
Well, again, I'm just amazed at how this is so clear in Scripture, and we just tend to ignore it. But I guess that's just a characteristics of an ungodly society. But what I find interesting, like I was telling Brian, there's a twofold situation here that you have to deal with. Number one, I know that this system as it exists is inevitably going to fail. Now, how do I know that? Because anything that goes against contrary to biblical thinking always fails. I got history on my side and biblical evidence to show that will happen. So we have to think about the long term as well as the short term. And the long term is eventually is abolishing the property tax. Now, it may not happen on my lifetime. It may not happen, I don't know when. But the thing is, if we don't leave a foundation for the next generation, they'll have no clue, and they will stay in a vicious circle of what I call funding their own demise. The whole system of public education was set up from a communistic perspective, and it requires two things. Number one, it takes ownership of your property. And number two, they have to take control of education. So once they do that and you get infiltrated with communist thinking, you will continue to fund your own demise, and then you will enjoy it and not even recognize that you're in a vicious loop. But again, that type of system will always fail because, number one, you can't sustain it. And number two, it depends on property ownership. And inevitably, what you will do is run people out of their homes. So the whole system is eventually going to come to a point where it's going to collapse. And we need to have, as Jonathan said, what we have immediate resolutions now, but then also work toward the long term. So look at the twofold approach to it.
Yeah, gotcha on that one. Let me get Jonathan
in Joe?
For a minute. Yeah.
Oh, good timing. I was going to interject. So I'm looking at Rumble, and we've got a couple of people commenting in Rumble. I wanted to spell one of those out for us here. We've got Lion Up 3 has made the comment, "Hey guys, fan from Louisiana. Love when your topics are about the inside baseball with Ohio rhinos and how to combat them." So I think that factors in because a lot of the things that we want to accomplish, and I'd gladly make some comments about Ohio's state school board, but I'm actually going to interject that we do actually have Ohio rhino hunters on social media. So if you're on X or where else is Ohio rhino hunters? On Facebook and a few other places, Ohio rhino hunters is seeking to do exactly that. We want to find the rhinos, out them, and replace them with real Republicans, because I'm one of those people that advocate if we're supposedly living in this two-party system, shouldn't we at least have two parties? This whole thing that I mentioned earlier with Dave Joyce, I've commented on Dave Joyce several times before. We need to fix these sorts of things. But when it comes to the things that we want to accomplish here, changing property taxes, revamping our school system to get education back in K through 12, you name it, we need to have actual solid, patriotic, conservative Americans in office in order to be able to accomplish these things. And we need to have a majority. So there's kind of a lot to that. And there's a big initiative underway called the Precinct Strategy, of which I'm part. We're pushing to get more constitutional conservative America First types involved in politics. And just for perspective, my way of kind of spelling that out, and this is actually encouragement for you, the listening audience, wherever you are, to get involved in local politics. Local politics is where it's at. That's where the power is. That is kind of the system that feeds tomorrow's players in the political infrastructure. So look up Precinct Strategy in Ohio. There's actually ohioprecinctstrategy.org. Nationally, it's precinctstrategy.com. I'm friends with the people that run both of those. Those are initiatives that will set the stage for success on future sorts of issues. I don't say that in any way to dissuade anybody from getting involved in these issues now. We need to get vocal, we need to be active, and we need to be in the ears of our representatives. Again, I'm air quoting that, our representatives, to pressure them into doing what's right for us, for we the people, for the state, the country, for children. We need to be way more vocal than we are. but at the same time, we should be actually active and involved. That's the big part of the equation, I think, that's been missing for a long time since they removed civics. And this goes back to something Leonard said. We have so many clueless people out there that are hoping and waiting around for government to come and fix things. Meanwhile, name something government has fixed. I can, off the top of my head, I can give you 50 things they've broken, like NASA, our postal service, our education system, you name it. They keep breaking things and then skyrocketing the price, claiming they're going to fix it. But the point is, and what I hope you take away, thank you, by the way, Lion Up 3 for your comments. We need to be way more active and involved, all of us, as many as possible at the local level. Last thing on that, so there are, across the country, there are about 400,000 seats that should have a local Republican Party representative, which means every single person living in the United States should have a local representative. It's a sad state of affairs right now. We're at about half strength. About half of the seats all across the country have nobody in them. That gives way too much opportunity for bad actors to come in and exert way too much power. And unfortunately, what's happened is a lot of far left ultra liberals have succeeded in invading the Republican Party because we were asleep at the switch. We need to fix that. That is absolutely part of the equation that gets us back in a better place to be able to tackle these things. So when brilliant minds out there like Leonard and Brian put together strategies to fix our tax system, whatever that ends up looking like, we can turn that into a bill, and then we can actually get it through our legislators. We can't do that until we have rock solid legislators, and in Ohio at least, we lack that. We have a lot of squishy rhinos.
Yeah, no doubt. But
there's something else too, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan, for the comment. What's interesting, is if you do a citizens-led initiative, okay, we know that our biggest hurdle is education. All right. So what we have to realize is that sometimes it's not an issue of volume. It's an issue of the few people having an influence on a majority of people. And that's the way God has worked in Scripture. So our mission is, and we want to do this, and I talked to my counterpart in Michigan, and she's covered just about, maybe 55 out of the 80 counties that they have. And every time she's doing that, she's picking up a group of people that are supporting the cause. So now when they go for the big gun now, she goes and mobilizes all those people from the different counties that they picked up, and now she has a base. So now all of this is based on just people ourselves now, not the government intervention, but just them doing our job as citizens to try to get something through. The other thing that concerns me is that when we say we're picking people to be conservatives, when I use the word godly men, people start freaking out. If I even say I even believe in God, people freak out. So the thing is this. If people are ashamed to bring up what they believe in and what they stand for, I don't want them in office anyway. I want somebody to tell me exactly what they stand for. Because right now, what we're having now, people just use the conservative label and say, oh, I'm conservative, limited government, strong family, and abortion rights and all that. But that doesn't really mean anything to me. I want to know what you're made of.
Yeah, where are you spiritually and stuff? I got you. Yeah, makes a big difference.
Yeah, I've got a comment difference for Jonathan. Just one last comment, if I may. You mentioned Dave Joyce. I just thought of the Young Republicans in Lake County. The leader of the Young Republicans is the campaign manager for Dave Joyce, I was told. And unfortunately, Leonard and I tried to meet with the Young Republicans and educate them about the property taxes. And they said, well, if you're involved with Brian Massey, we don't want to talk to you.
Wow. Well, wait a minute. Wait. Who said that?
Leonard, you want to jump in there?
Who said that? Leonard, who said that? Who?
I have to go back and look at my files. I've run to so many names, but he's the the leader of the young Republican parties here in our county, Lake County. But I don't know. I have to go back and look at I'm running into so many people I can't keep up with names. But anyway, this is the type of thing I'm concerned about. When I have a God-fearing man like Brian, and we've been working together, and I can vouch for him, and like I said, I know what he's made of. To me, if that type of attitude exists, then there's a bigger issue here. And what my concern is that I was telling Brian this, is that if we have those type of people that are not even willing, at this stage of the game to even listen, to understand, even if you disagree with it, then how are you telling me that the Republican Party is growing? That's what I don't understand.
Well, here's a point. Here's a point too, Leonard and Brian. If it's a young Republican from Lake County, he's only getting this message from somebody else. He's getting this message from somebody else because he doesn't really know who you are, and he doesn't know where you stand on property taxes. So someone else has been feeding him this into his ear, that you stay away from Brian Massey and Leonard Gilbert. So that's who we really need to find out more about.
There's a connected comment on that, and that's been an ongoing tactic of the left for a long time. What they've done, and they did it with all kinds of different clubs and groups and media outlets and newspapers. They continue to do the same thing. They're doing the same trick over and over again, and it's dastardly in its evil origins. What they do is infiltrate the far left, infiltrate the Republican Party, and then start typecasting anyone who's Republican as extremist. Oh, the Tea Party, those are extremist people. And meanwhile, if anybody who cares and looks at it, any of those media outlets like the Epoch Times, which I bring up regularly. I read the Epoch Times. I like the newspaper. I've yet to have anybody point to it and tell me that an article was inaccurate or point out where the bias is. But they point to the thing and say, those are extremists. And so at a certain level, there are some people on our side, on the right, who are prone to the same goofiness that the left is. The left use name calling. They call somebody, they start with racist and then anti-LGBTQ plus or whatever. And as soon as the label is attached to the thing, then instantly everybody's like, la, 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 I can't hear, I can't listen to you. You're that racist person, you're anti-LGBTQ plus or whatever. Meanwhile, there doesn't have to be any even seed or inkling of truth to the thing. It's just a label that's attached. So that's what's happening within the Republican Party to people who are conservative. So I'm on Central Committee, and I know for a fact that there are people involved in the Republican Party Central Committee who will cast me as some sort of loudmouth extremist. Well, define that. You know what that actually means? It means that I hold conservative Republican values. It doesn't mean anything more than that. But once they have infiltrated, and now they're trying to get people to tune out to voices like mine. Same thing with Leonard and Brian. There are people within Lake County who don't want the truth out. They don't want people talking about issues. They don't want the public informed about things. And so they'll just cast, and this show is probably another example, I'm assuming. So there are probably people out there that are just spinning up this whole big yarn about how Ohio Political News, that Brian Massey guy and Leonard, they're extremists.
Well, you're going to have that, but I'm not worried about it. I mean, if that's fine. Let people say whatever they want. Look what's happening to legacy media now. It's tanking because, social media is starting to come alive. People are realizing what extremists and leftists that these people are and stuff. So, yeah, just keep fighting. I ain't worried about what anybody thinks, but Kent, are you out there? I thought I saw maybe a chat pop up. Are you out there? Oh, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. I guess not. Okay, listen.
Somebody popped something up.
Yeah, okay. I want to get to one last thing before we wrap it up tonight. And Jon Husted was out at Mar-a-Lago. He was visiting Trump. So DeWine took a vacation with Husted, and they went to see Trump. So if that doesn't tell you something about who might be taking JD Vance's place, I just don't think anything will.
It's one of the most important decisions Governor Mike DeWine has to make soon. Vice President-elect and current Ohio Senator JD Vance will need to resign, opening up his coveted seat. Previously, the governor said he's looking for someone who could win in the 2026 special election, and then again in 2028 when the 6-year term is up. Republican strategists, consultants, and lobbyists all told us their thoughts. The likely choice, Lieutenant Governor Jon Husted. I've been trying to nail down DeWine on Husted for weeks now. However, the governor and LG team confirmed exclusively to me that the pair were in Mar-a-Lago recently to meet with President-elect Donald Trump and Vance, but would not comment about their conversation. However, at the breakfast, DeWine said this about the appointment.
I've spoken with Donald Trump. I've spoken with JD Vance.
But if it isn't the LG, the most popular names floated by strategists are RNC Committeewoman for Ohio, Jane Timken, Ohio Treasurer Robert Sprague, and State Representative Jay Edwards.
All right, so there you have it, hot off the press.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so I don't know. It looks like Husted to me. It looks like he's going to take that spot. Then it'll be interesting. You know what's going to be interesting? The governor's race. That's going to be interesting because, Husted was supposed to be the one that was going to be handed to. But what do you guys think? And we'll wrap it up with this. What do you think about Husted? Good, bad, horrible, great? I'm going to start with you. What do you think, Leonard? Is he your poster child?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't know what he's made of, and all I know is he pops up just for opportune times. But as far as what he's made of, what he's talked about, I have no idea. So to me, he's just another guy behind the scenes working through the system. They line him up, and boom, there's your next candidate. So I could be totally wrong. Maybe that's just me.
So, but you have no opinion either way on Husted, correct? Correct.
No, I don't know anything about him.
All right, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd have to say if DeWine is supporting Husted, I've got to pass on that. I don't think DeWine is I don't think he's been a good governor at all.
So that's
you're known by the company you keep, I guess, in politics. Right. So
I got you. And it's interesting they went down to Mar-a-Lago because they've got to get Trump's blessing on this. That was one thing DeWine said. Whoever the candidate was, he wanted to make sure Trump was in total agreement with it. So he took Husted. They went to Mar-a-Lago. Everybody goes to Mar-a-Lago. I don't get it.
Yeah, they've got to take a knee is what they've got to do. Kneel before Trump.
I guess so. Kiss the ring. But, hey, one other thing, Mar-a-Lago, I mean, everybody goes there. It's like, if I was Trump, I'd be worried about being assassinated. He's got everybody going there. Parties going on, people, this guy from this country, that country. It's kind of amazing. All right, Jonathan, what do you think? Is Husted the man, huh?
No, not at all. Not in the least. I'm not a fan. So here's the thing. You were talking earlier, Joe, about not having a deep bench on the left. Apparently, we've got the same issue here in Ohio. That is not a deep bench. That's a whole bunch of names of people that I would really not want to have in any position anywhere. Maybe not even flipping a burger for me. So I'm not a fan of anybody on that list. A few of them, actually, I don't know well. So the ones that I know, like Jane Timken and Husted and certainly DeWine, I'm no fan at all. But so here's the deal. I am parts of some communication network that talk about these kinds of issues. And there was a rumor mill that ginned up. And I'll share this with you now because it's done. It didn't happen. So this is all water over the dam or under the bridge, whatever the expression is. So about 2 weeks ago, it was widely believed, and I believe this is probably very close to accurate, if not spot on, that DeWine actually wanted to give that appointment ability or to defer to President Trump and give Trump the nod to replace JD Vance. In exchange, DeWine, who's now reading the tea leaves properly and correctly and knows that he has no future in politics, he's just nowhere near popular enough to win any office anywhere. I think, or what was told to me, he actually wanted Trump to appoint him as an ambassador to, I can't say where, another country, basically. So DeWine, remember, of course, this is the same DeWine who ducked tail and hid under his desk 2 or 3 times during Trump's presidency. When Trump came to Ohio, DeWine kept pulling that thing, oh, cough, cough, oh, I must have COVID.
Yeah, COVID, right, exactly.
Yeah, I should probably not meet with Trump. It's the same DeWine who's now flying himself down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump. And I believe there's truth to that. I think what DeWine was hoping for was to get an appointment. Trump said no. This is my understanding again, of course. This is not official news.
Trump didn't say no. Trump said, get the heck out of here. Dang it.
Yeah, I'd like to think that was the case. Here. Yeah, get the heck out of here. So that, unfortunately for those of us in Ohio, puts the decision squarely back in DeWine's camp. And I think that there is pretty much zero chance that DeWine will actually pick somebody we'd like for the job. He's going to put like a Joyce or LaRose or somebody in there. By the way, some of these people, and I think LaRose falls in this category. I don't know that LaRose is a bad guy. Actually, I think some of them are probably perfectly nice to hang out with. The problem that I have with many of these people is that they have no spine. They have no gumption. These are not the type of people. They're politicians. These are the types of people exactly the opposite of Trump and what we like about Trump. Trump goes in and says, there's some broken stuff here and we need to fix it. I'm going to get loud about it. You need to go. You're bad. This person over here needs a promotion, whatever. Trump does those sorts of things. And in the real world, that's what we're hungry for. None of these people, Jane Timken, Frank LaRose, Dave Joyce, none of them.
Well, they're all career politicians.
People that can see beyond their own self-interest and to the greater good and can take risk in order to try and achieve a greater good.
Yeah, they're all career politicians, though. That's all they've done their whole lives is this whole political stuff. They've never run a business or anything like that. They haven't been out there in the real world. That's a big part of the problem right there. And they have no spine. All right, guys, listen. 2025 just right around the corner. Can't believe it. I can't believe it's already 2025. It's amazing. Time is flying.
Joe, you forgot to tell everybody we're going to go January 20th. Ohio Political News will be at the inauguration, and we are going to live stream it for Ohio Political News.
Excellent. January 20th, you will be out there live streaming, so we will cover that. And as soon as we find out more what time the inauguration is going to take place, that will be wonderful. That will be wonderful. Just call us Right
looking
Side
forward to that.
Ohio Political News, Right Side Broadcasting, OPN.
Yeah, we're talking about history making here, so we look forward to being part of that. We were down at the January 6th, so this is sort of a bookend of that. Now it's going to be on January 20th of inauguration of Donald Trump.
Excellent. All right, guys. Everybody have a good night. Thanks again for everybody contributing. Really appreciate it. Leave you with this song here tonight. And everybody have a great 2025. We will see you on the other side of 2025. Happy New Year to everyone. God bless.
Thank God we're saying bye to Joe. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. And the mainstream media's dying. Their viewers shaving their heads and crying. What is a woman? Well, they still don't know. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. They tried to stop us by taking his life, but they missed, so it's fight, fight, fight. The left really thought they'd beat the right. And they fought, but they lost, thank the Lord. Now January is coming. Half of Hollywood's already running. They're finding new countries to call home. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. Diddy locked up, it's been swell. And Epstein didn't kill himself. Hunter smoking crack with ho-ho-hos. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke.